The biggest moments in our lives inspire awe. And that awe creates pressure. In poker, there are few more awe-inspiring places than Monaco. And no pressure like going deep in a major tournament. To make the money, you have to be good. It's how you handle pressure that makes you great.
You can go crazy, absolutely crazy, but I will have to just get in the zone and focus.
Essayer de jouer normalement sans me mettre la pression, au moins c'est cet avantage.
It's gonna be tougher for sure. I'm just trying to stay focused and play my best game, but I just care a lot about the championship title.
With fewer than 50 players remaining, greatness beckons. We're back on the Riviera for day 4 of our €5,000 main event. Last time, it was chip up or go home. Daniel Negreanu was off the boil.
Just taking my power nap.
And made some poor decisions.
Nice hand.
Finally falling to a former champ.
Play good. Good luck, bud. Aces, Mr. Aces.
And Sam wasn't the only previous champ doing well. ElkY was on a heater.
Aces again. Wow. Nice hand.
There was lots of all-in, and luckily I only got it all-in with aces, so so that was good, and they held both times.
And for the tournament chip leader, Michael Kolkovic, day 3 was business as usual.
Depuis que j'ai commencé le tournoi, j'ai fini à chaque fois dans les journées premier ou deuxième en jetons. C'est pas une image qui me déplaît.
45 players are about to take their seats for day 4 of the main event.
We're about halfway there. It's like the Wednesday of the tournament, the weekend being the final table.
Well, still a lot of poker to be played until we get there. And plenty of reasons to be excited about this hump day in the tournament.
Hump day. The guy who won the last Monte Carlo main event, he could still go 2 in a row. The emotional kid from Barcelona, he's still in, and ElkY is making his deepest run in years.
It's been a while since I had a deep run in main event, especially here. Obviously, the best players are more likely to be surviving the last 45. So it's gonna be tougher for sure, but I'm ready for it.
Those tough opponents include a young gun who knows what it takes to win.
Going into day 4, I feel really good. After winning Barcelona, I'm much more calm and more aware of what's happening. I think I'm in a pretty good spot to get through this field.
But it's not all about past form. One man has some real confidence, not to mention a lot of chips.
De l'arrivée de chip leader, ça me donne une grande confiance et ça va me permettre de jouer mon jeu comme je sais le faire. Donc c'est d'être très agressif pour jouer et pour ça j'ai besoin de jetons.
Time to dial up the pressure as day 4 begins. Welcome once again to the PokerStars Championship presented by Monte Carlo Casino. I'm James Hartigan with Joe Stapleton.
Hello, my babies.
6 tables in play. Everyone left in the tournament now guaranteed more than 15 grand and players arriving to take their seats.
Hossein Ensan, winner of Prague 2015 and Wish He Were My Real Dad 2017.
There's Davidi Kitai, accompanied by his fiancée Caroline.
She spent more time on the rail than Andrew Carnegie. And Jan Bendik, who constantly looks like he's ended up with the wrong person's luggage.
Well, headlining the main stage today is the 2008 PCA champ, ElkY.
I'm feeling really good today. Of course, I have a lot of chips, you know, although the table is seems pretty tough, like between Dan Smith and Malek, the guy who won in Barcelona last year. I played with Malek a little bit only, but Dan Smith is on my right, but it's short stack, so it's kind of all right. And other players seem pretty good too. I mean, definitely it's going to be a tough day as we get much closer to the final table and big money, but I'm feeling confident, so I'm just going to be like playing my best, you know.
Well, chip leader Michael Kolkovic will be playing at the secondary feature table.
Very aggressive player.
while ElkY prepares to take his seat on the main stage.
It's good of him to walk to the table and follow the tournament rules by not using his portal gun.
He'll be sandwiched between Dan Smith and Sebastian Mallets.
Hello, guys.
Hello.
Hey, Dan.
Dan, one of the shortest stacks of the table.
The other table shorty being Paul Testud from France, who started playing poker before most of us were born. In the 8th seat, we've got an online qualifier, Dmitro Shovanov from Ukraine. And we will get the action started with the blinds at 5,000, 10,000 with a 1,000 ante. Action will be on Sebastian Mallets. He's under the gun, first to speak. Pocket sixes. Sebastian raises to 22,000. Aces for Paul Testud.
Guy's got over $2 million in live earnings. And now I know why with moves like this.
Just a call.
It's actually fine. You can't really worry about getting sucked out on with a stack that small, and a 3-bet would look super strong.
Round to the blinds. Smith passes. ElkY has Jack-6 in the big. He folds, so we're going heads up to the flop. Tested almost a 9-1 favorite.
Mallets has no idea what he's up against.
A queen, 4 flop. Tested now a 96% favorite. And Mallets is betting. He continues for 18,000.
His hand's got to be good a lot. And for Tested, I think just calling against the play. If you raise, you're only going to get action from hands that have you beat.
Sure enough, just a call. The turn card is the 9 of spades. Mallet's down to 2%. Only one card in the deck he can hit on the river to win this hand. He slows down, checks the action. Tested, checks behind.
Still loving the slow play. Let him catch up or bluff.
No help for Mallets on the river. He checks.
Now you got to bet.
Paul Testud going for value, 23,000.
Pretty small bet. Easy to just chuck those chips in.
Mallets calls.
You can't teach an old dog new tricks, but sometimes the old tricks are so old that the new dog doesn't even know how this is real life.
Eh?
He just got pwned so hard he better get tested.
Paul now up to 255,000. As we head over to the secondary feature table where chip leader Michael Kolkovich has gone to the river against Paul-Francois Tedeschi. Kolkovich with a straight, Tedeschi with just a pair of 8s.
Kolkovich has been super aggressive, and in this case, it's easy to be aggressive when you get there harder than a paratrooper.
He bets 184,000, a not insignificant percentage of Tedeschi's remaining chips.
It is a huge bet.
Tu es chaud si je fold? Non, jamais.
Tu le verras après.
What's the rule in the French? I'm gonna allow it.
Paul-Francois giving this serious thought with not much of a hand.
Time.
Kolkovich has called the clock on him.
Timetable 4.
I mean, this is such a huge polarizing bet. It's supposed to be air some of the time, so it's got to be tempting to call.
Tedeschi will be put on a 60-second countdown. No need for that. He passes.
Correct.
Michael Kolkovich up to 1.45 million.
That's almost 3 times the average. That's pretty good.
And it means he is still tournament chip leader ahead of Stefan Schilhabel. We've got 3 former champions in the top 10. Davidi Kitai in 3rd, ElkY in 8th, Hussein Ensan in 10th. Let's check in on Ensan. The 2015 Prague champion is in a hand against Prague 2016 finalist Sergei Petrushevsky.
Petrushevsky eternally looks stressed out. Oh, jeez.
He's checked the river.
Well, this river hits just about everything.
Bet coming from Ensan. A bet of 100,000.
And because the river hits everything, I think it's really hard for him to be bluffing here. Oh.
Petrushevsky really does look stressed.
It's a big chunk of his stack.
He calls. Ensan tables ace-6 of spades for the nut flush, and it's good.
Shows not a bluff.
Ensan up to 865,000.
Hossein in the membrane, Ensan in the bran.
2 eliminations so far today. We're down to 43. We're going back to the main feature table, where Sebastian Mallets will be first to act. He looks down at 5-4 of diamonds. Doesn't want to play that from first position.
Fair.
Round to Alexandru Papazian from Romania.
Year of Romania.
Ace-3 of hearts. He is number 1 on Romania's all-time money list. He won the 25k high roller here in Monte Carlo last year. So he's raised it to 24k. Action's been folded around to ElkY in the big blind. He's got King-Jack of spades. And he defends. Heads up to the flop. Ace-9-6. Top pair for Papazian. Couple of backdoor draws for ElkY. He checks. Papazian continues, betting 20,000.
Not a particularly good spot for ElkY because he's got decent equity against everything but an ace or king-queen, and Papazian's got an ace.
ElkY calls the bet and picks up a straight draw on the turn. Checks for a second time. No second barrel from Papazian. He checks behind. And the 7 of diamonds is no help to ElkY. Papazian's pair of aces still good.
ElkY probably happy to take some king-high showdown value.
He checks.
To check or not to check?
He checks.
King high.
No good.
Oh, slow roll.
Papazian takes 45k off ElkY. It's a small dent in his stack. He is still among the chip leaders here on day 4 in Monte Carlo. Day 4 of the Monte Carlo main event kicked off with just 45 players left in the running for a seat at the final table. So far, it's been a day of mixed fortunes, with neither Sebastian Mallets nor ElkY off to a great start. But amateur Michael Kolkovic continues to steamroller the field and gave French pro Paul-Francois Tedeschi
Time.
serious pause for thought before taking a sizable chunk of his stack. And right now, 43 remain in the PokerStars Championship presented by Monte Carlo Casino. And at the secondary feature table, it's Tedeschi versus Li Hon Chong. A straight and a diamond draw for Tedeschi, a pair and a heart draw for Hon Chong.
OMG, nut straight with a diamond draw and you're still only an 80% favorite. Sheesh.
Tedeschi betting 88,000.
I don't see how you fold a pair and a draw to the nut flush. You don't do it.
Sure enough, a call from Lee Han Chung, and this hand going to the river. It's the king of hearts. That's the nut flush for Han Chung.
Not good news for this boy.
And Tedeschi's betting. $188,000.
Lee Han Chong has got to raise, and raising even the minimum is pretty much all in.
He is all in for $411,000. Decision time for Tedeschi.
Well, every song by Tedeschi Trucks Band is like 9 minutes long, and so are many of Paul Tedeschi's tanks. Certainly worthwhile giving this a think, though. In this case, at this point, he's only beating bluffs. I guess it's possible in some round that Han Chong could overplay some value hands like a set or a worse straight, but probably not.
Clock. You would have 1 more minute to act from now.
The second time today the clock's been called on Tedeschi. It was Stefan Schilhabel who called time. And that's a call!
Looks like Tedeschi Truck Bands may be leaving the stage a bit early tonight.
He loses a huge pot to Lee Han Chung. And will be left with just 8 big blinds. We need to head back to the main feature table where online qualified Dmitro Shovanov has shoved. It's all in to call for Marius Giersa, who has been in the tank for some time. If he does call, he will be out. His 4 kicker is no good.
I want to call so bad, but I can't find enough bluffs.
Not with spades out there, too.
Clock.
Time.
And now the clock's been called on Giersa.
Alright, sir. You'll have 1 more minute to act from now. And why you are so nervous?
He doesn't look nervous.
So damn nervous.
Is he looking at the right guy?
Bad flop. Check. Min raise turn. Like, but check call, then.
This is great.
I will count down the last 10 seconds before the hand is dead. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. I call.
Goodbye, Giersa.
Just because he did. That's good. It's 4.
Yeah, we all know what that feels like. Terrible.
Good game. Good game, man. That's good. Just called because you got nervous, like when he counted down again.
You wanted to check jam the turn?
Yes.
Well, this was way more interesting.
Yep. Good game, guys.
Marius Giersa exits in 42nd place, collecting just over 15,000 euros.
Yes!
Shovanov up to 851k. Well, back at the secondary feature table, Paul-Francois Tedeschi is all in and at risk, but he's got the best of it. A pair of 8s against a pair of 7s.
Last time he was 80%, this time he's 78. Are they gonna do it to him again?
4 diamonds on the turn. Tedeschi just has to fade a king or a 7 on the river. Schilhabel doesn't hit. Tedeschi doubles up.
Tedeschi trucking on back up toward average. Almost halfway there.
Well, even though he doubled up Tedeschi, Stefan Schilhabel is still among the tournament bosses. He's 3rd overall. Michael Kolkovic still chip leader with more than 1.5 million. Lee Han Chung has catapulted into the top 10, but ElkY has dropped out. Well, let's head back to ElkY's table on the main stage. 41 players remaining. Action on Dmitro Shovanov. The Ukrainian folds. Dan Smith is out. ElkY's in the cutoff with Queen 10 offsuit.
Elkster, Broadway cards, come at me, bro.
He raises to 20,000. Sebastian Mallets has ace 8 on the button.
Mallets is thinking about 3-betting. This hand isn't the best to do it with, but the position against a frustrated ElkY makes it more appealing.
It is a re-raise to 55,000. Testud folds the small blind. Papazian folds the big blind. Back on ElkY. And he shows a little bit of frustration as he lets it go.
My guess is he's thinking, Mallets!
Who now has nearly $500,000, closing in on the tournament average. So 2 former champions tangling there, and a 3rd former champ is about to take a seat at the feature table. Let's check in on some other past winners. Jan Bendit could still go back to back, but he has a short stack.
Where do you even get that jacket?
Saint Ensan is still a boss with close to $1 million.
Coolest senior since Matlock.
Remy Castagnon won Deauville back in 2013.
Remy, where you been, homie?
And there is Davidi taking his seat on the main stage.
Now you're all in big, big trouble.
Salut Davidi, ça va?
Hello.
Just what everyone wants, a slow-acting, aggro Triple Crown winner.
Another new player at the table, Andreas Klatt, who won the national championship here in Monte Carlo just a few days ago. He's folded under the gun. Paul Testud also folds. Alexandru Papazian has ace 6.
This would be a pretty light raise from this position.
Makes it 20,000.
I will also fold.
This table's been pretty 3-bet happy.
Around to Sebastian Mallets in the big blind, who has ace 9.
Now let's go to the flop.
Sebastian has Alexandru dominated. But the flop is Jack 6-4. It's domination rotation. Papazian has paired his 6. Mallets is checked. Papazian makes a continuation bet of 16,000.
It's a cool bet from a cool daddy-o. Don't want to let your opponent get a free card.
Mallets calls.
Interesting call. Even if you're ahead here, ace-9 doesn't play super well.
King of diamonds on the turn. Mallets checks again. Papazian checks behind. The river card is a 5, so the board is bricked out for Sebastian Mallets. He checks.
I like a check behind here. A value bet would be thinner than the walls of my last apartment. I'm sorry, 12G. I have an active dating life.
We do see a thin value bet from Papazian, 51,000 with just a pair of 6s. And Mallets is reaching for chips.
Yeah, he's not just calling.
A check raise from Mallets. He bluffs for 199,000.
And this is why I don't care for going for thin value here. This is an excellent bluff by Mallets. And unlike every automatic shuffler I've ever been given by a relative for Christmas, it is going to work.
The pain of Papazian. He folds the best hand.
Kid knows what he's doing.
Adds 99k to his stack.
Tough hand for the Romanian beatnik. Hey man, aren't they just like all of our chips?
And Mallets, now an above average stack.
We tried that yesterday.
Try what?
I mean, the check raise in the river.
So that means you're bluffing?
Maybe, I don't know.
So cute, he wants Dan Smith's approval.
Once a fanboy, always a fanboy.
They called me like a poker fanboy.
Sebastian Mallets has gone from poker fanboy to poker champion.
The way I acted, it was just adrenaline. I couldn't help myself. I was just being in the moment.
It is clear that this means the world to him.
All of the experience that I watched on TV or on YouTube or whatever, I experienced it myself.
Every emotion possible in the last 10 seconds.
Sometimes it's kind of hard to believe that that was me, that I was there, that was playing, that I won. Just one moment I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. Winning another trophy, especially here, would be really special.
You are special, Sebastian. You are special.
Well, let's head over to the secondary feature table where there's a chance for Paul-Francois Tedeschi to really get back into this game. He has called the all-in of Christian Fajerdi. It's ace-10 against ace-7. Fajerdi, the player at risk, but it is for most of Tedeschi's stack. The flop is Jack 8-3. Ace-10 is holding. Fajerdi needs a 7. Deuce no help. 3 cards that can save him. He's out.
And Paul-Francois Tedeschi doubles up again.
Fajerdi cashing for 15k.
Come back.
Could be Kolkovic. Tedeschi started today with 560k, dropped to 84k, is now up to 589k. Do you have what it takes to handle swings like that? You can qualify for a main event at PokerStars.com. In any game of poker, you're going to experience highs and lows. But few players experience them in such a short time frame as Paul-Francois Tedeschi.
Donc oui, là j'ai eu un coup vraiment compliqué où je suis descendu à 8 blindes. Alors là je me suis dit c'est peut-être la fin du tournoi.
But it wasn't the end.
Et finalement j'ai eu un rush, donc j'ai eu un beau rush de cartes et ça s'est déroulé incroyable.
And now he's looking to do even better than last year.
Alors l'année dernière j'ai participé à l'EPT Monaco et j'ai fini 24e donc au jour 5 où je me suis fait éliminer sur un flip, voilà, donc une déception. Donc cette année il faut que je fasse mieux.
And Tedeschi is in action again. At our secondary feature table he has a set of 7s. His opponent, Stefan Schilhabel, has a flush draw.
Man, if Schilhabel hits his spade, it's going to be pretty awkward. We just made such a big deal about this comeback.
4 of diamonds on the turn. Tedeschi now an 83% favorite.
All in.
He shoves the turn. And Schilhabel folds.
Wow, I was not expecting a fold there. You have to be like 100% sure your opponent has a set to fold after putting so much in the middle and out to the nuts.
Well, with that hand, Schilhabel will drop under the million mark. Paul-Francois Tedeschi now has more than $1 million.
Comeback continues.
So here's the state of play at the PokerStars Championship presented by Monte Carlo Casino. Tedeschi now 5th in chips. Schilhabel drops to 7th. Davidi Kitai is now the only former champ in the top 10. Michael Kolkovic still leads the pack with close to $1.5 million. Back at the secondary feature table, and it's Kolkovic versus Tedeschi.
Jeez, Pablo, take a hand off.
He's ahead for now. Not anymore. Kolkovic has paired his 6. He bets 43,000.
Remember, Kolkovic is aggro AF. That stands for aggro Frenchman.
Tedeschi getting frisky. He raises, sticks 100k on top.
Looks like he's got a pretty good read on the strength of Kolkovic's hand, and he's trying to protect his equity. But it looks like he's got a bad read on how much Kolkovic likes his pair of 6s.
Wow, Kolkovic responds with a re-raise to 320,000.
Attempting to re-own.
Oh my. Is Tedeschi going to put in another bet?
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
He folds.
Well, he did have the worst hand.
Après.
Quoi?
La seule chose que je peux te dire, c'est bien passé. Mais bon, tout à l'heure, je t'ai dit maman parce que t'avais 8 big blinds. Là, je vais te la dire, mais après le tournoi.
Kolkovic is saying that Tedeschi's got too many chips right now for Kolkovic to tell him what he had on the hand. He'll tell him after.
Mon nom c'est Mikhail Kolkovic, j'ai 31 ans, je viens de Paris et dans la vie je fais de l'immobilier d'entreprise. En fait je suis plutôt venu pour l'événement puisqu'on est une bande de copains, c'était aussi pour le week-end on va dire du 1er mai. J'ai gagné au cash game, j'ai dit le meilleur moyen de les investir je pense que c'est dans un tournoi et dans le main event pourquoi pas. Et voilà comment je me suis retrouvé là. Donc c'est extraordinaire. J'ai déjà joué beaucoup de main event, j'ai déjà joué beaucoup de tables où j'ai rencontré des stars connues du poker. J'ai joué souvent à la table de Negreanu aussi, Phil Ivey, Gus Hansen. C'est toujours plaisant, on va dire, de jouer avec des gens connus, on va dire, mais ça change vraiment pas ma façon de jouer. Voilà, j'estime que tout le monde a les mêmes cartes avec les mêmes jetons. Chaque coup, il peut à peu près tout arriver, c'est ce qui rend si riche le poker. Et je pense que c'est pour ça que ça amène autant de joueurs. Je me sens forcément excité à l'idée, content d'avoir beaucoup de jetons, essayer de jouer normalement sans me mettre la pression et après maintenant c'est le but d'aller au bout.
He most certainly does not seem to care who he's playing against. He's tougher than a day-old baguette.
To the outer tables where Hussein Ensan has bet the turn and the clock has been called on Sergei Petrashevsky.
Oh geez, the clock's been called. How's the guy supposed to think?
King 10, 4-3 board.
It's tough to look more comfortable than this.
Come down with less than before the hand is dead. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Fold and show the bluff.
Petrashevsky folds top pair.
No bluff, pocket four.
Oh jeez. You know, if Hussein's shirt were off anymore, he really would be my dad.
Ensan playing more than $1 million. Well, from one previous winner to another, the reigning champ is all in. And his shove has been called by Jerome Brion. Bendik at risk, but ahead. Not anymore, a 9 on the flop.
But spades.
11 outs for Bendik. But he doesn't hit.
Sit open 5.
A suck out by Brion. Which means Jan Bendik will not be going back to back. He exits in 36th place.
First place last year, 36th this year. Still pretty impressive.
Meanwhile, we have got 3 former champs at the feature table. One of them is Davidi Kitai, who's got aces.
You know, Davidi Kitai is enough of a nuisance without aces. This is almost unfair.
Kitai raising from late position. He makes it 28,000. Shavanov on the button. Folds. Dan Smith gives up the small blind. ElkY has ace-9 in the big blind. He defends.
Unfortunately for ElkY, he's playing this just fine.
Wow, case ace on the flop.
Flopping a full house with aces is pretty annoying because it's almost impossible to get action, usually.
Look at the percentages. ElkY is already drawing dead.
The extra piece of good news for Davidi is that it's almost impossible to be beat.
He's continued for 22,000. I'm guessing ElkY likes his hand. He calls.
Still pretty understandable.
Eight of diamonds on the turn. ElkY with two pair, ace and kings. Kitai with the house.
I think Davidi can make a pretty big bet here because ElkY's going to call pretty much any size if he's calling at all.
122,000 in the middle. Kitai firing a second barrel of 68,000.
Big enough bet to get value and small enough that ElkY really can't even consider folding.
There is the call. And this hand is going to the river. Jack of diamonds completes the board.
Or ElkY. This whole hand's like having a bunch of bees flying around your head. There's nothing you can do but flail around and run away and hope to not get stung too bad.
ElkY checks for a third time.
An aggro Belgian bee.
I think this simile has run its course. Kitai's betting big by the looks of things. Nearly full pot, 220,000.
Big bet makes sense. ElkY's going to have a king here a lot. With the hand ElkY does have, he could get away now.
He does get away from it.
ElkY keeps making all the right decisions, even though he's running bad. I've said this before, I do not care for sad ElkY. It's like watching a Tamagotchi starve to death.
Kitai on the ascent, up to 1.1 million. Midway through day 4 in Monte Carlo, and making big decisions is proving difficult for some.
Clock.
Time.
1 more minute to act.
Time on 3. Time on table 2.
The pressure has got the better of many.
That's good consider. Good game.
While others have managed to keep a cool head. ElkY made a strong fold against Davidi Kitai, proving that even when the deck is against you, the right mindset can minimize the damage.
Even though I know I've been running bad today, just like play the hands and try to like make the best decision every time.
With hundreds of thousands of euros on the line, great judgment and strong intuition have never been more important. We're down to 33 at the PokerStars Championship presented by Monte Carlo Casino. We've lost a couple of players from the featured table. Dan Smith eliminated in 34th. Sebastian Mallets has been moved to one of the outer tables. Action here on Davidi Kitai. Queen, deuce of hearts. That's a fold. Shovanov is out. ElkY has ace-7.
ElkY looks like his life force is waning. ElkY, take my energy.
He raises to 25,000. Andreas Klatt folds the button. Paul Testud folds the small blind. 5 deuce of spades for Alexandru Papazian.
A call here would be Crazian. Not really, I just wanted to say that.
He does call. So these two go heads up to the flop. And Papazian flops a flush.
Jeez Louise.
Meanwhile, ElkY has top pair. And check to him.
I think ElkY might literally implode. Nice check behind, though.
9 on the turn sees ElkY drawing dead.
Again.
Papazian leading the turn. 68,000.
It's a pretty big bet.
his perspective, ElkY has top pair and a straight draw.
He's in another buzzing spot.
And yet he finds a fold.
Wow, he checks back the flop and folds to the turn bet. It is rare you see a player get owned by a fold, but Papazian just did.
ElkY, we feel your pain, but he still has 541,000. He is not in the danger zone.
I've no pithy rejoinder for that.
So I mentioned that Mallet's got moved. Here he is in a hand against Moritz Dietrich.
Moritz Dietrich looks like the kind of kid who would remind the teacher she forgot to collect the homework.
The river card is a 9. Action is on Mallet's. He checks. Dietrich going for the green chips. They're worth 25,000 each. That's a bet of 200,000. And Mallet's folds. Dietrich up to 1.15 million. Sebastian Mallet's has roughly half the tournament average, 340,000. Well, let's stay out in the field and go to another former champion. Hussein Ensan has called the all-in of Jeffrey Hakim. But Ensan is dominated here.
No, Dad, not before the adoption papers go through.
Looking good for Hakim on the flop. And the turn. Queen on the river, and Jeffrey Hakim will double up.
I mean, I guess I could take Jeffrey Hakim as like a big brother or something, as long as somebody comes to my baseball game later.
St. Hensan still going strong, 863,000. At the secondary feature table, Kolkovic and Tedeschi are going to the flop. Ace-King against tens. And the flop is ace-high. Kolkovic now a 9-1 favorite.
Kolkovic has got one gear, and luckily he's been getting the cards to go with it.
The action's been checked to him.
And when a guy's playing more aggressively than a drunken honey badger, you tend to not want to fold to him.
Kolkovic continues for 60,000.
Makes perfect sense.
Tedeschi calls. Turn card is a deuce. Doesn't change anything. Tedeschi checks a second time.
Kolkovic could bet again. Also, checking's fine and going for it on the river.
He checked behind river for free, which is the 6 of diamonds. A third check from Tedeschi. And a check from Kolkovic.
Oh, no, you gotta bet that. River was a bigger brick than the ones they used to build the pyramids.
Kolkovic wins another pot. And is up to 1.7 million. And Tedeschi, who was on life support earlier on, is now knocking on the door of the tournament top 10.
That's pretty cool.
Meanwhile, man down, Castagnon's out.
Figures in the main event. Please stop after descent.
We are down to 32 players, which means 4 tables of 8. We need to balance the tables, but we'll wait for this hand on the main stage to finish before that. Clat raised from the cutoff with Ace-King. Davidi Kitai defended his big blind with 8-4. We're going to the flop. Top pair for Clat, second pair for Kitai. Davidi checks.
Bet seems fairly obvious.
Andreas reaches for the chips, which matches shirt. 25,000.
I'm a kitty Clat. Meow.
Kitai calls.
I expect him to peel one with a pair.
King on the turn. 2 pair now for Clat. Kitai checks again.
I would expect Clat to keep on trucking.
This bet is 70,000.
I like the bet. He can get value out of worse aces and try to protect against hearts and wheel draws.
Kitai calls again with just a 4.
Maybe he's got some other tricks up his sleeve.
The river card is an 8. So Kitai improves, in inverted commas, to a no good 2-pair.
Klatt cannot love that heart, though. And it looks like Davidi Kitai is going to get all sneaky snake and acting like he got a flush.
Yeah, he leads for 122,000. And it is possible that Kitai was calling the flop and calling the turn with a flush draw and just got there. But Klatt's hand is so strong. Top 2.
I think most folks are going to make a crying call here, but it does feel very, very flushy.
This bet is for most of Klatt's stack.
All in.
Wow, he shoved!
Did not see that coming.
How much more?
Not a lot more. 75,000.
This hand is so good I don't really even know what's going on. If Kitai was planning on calling a shove, he probably should have just moved all in to start with.
Yeah, he's got himself in a bit of a pickle here.
There is no shame in folding.
Hissing at the Klatt. Ew.
Davidi's fiancée Caroline watching from the rail.
Time.
And Papating calls the clock.
Time, please. Time, please.
This is the wave of the future. Players standing up to habitual tanking.
We have seen a lot of clock calling today. And Kitai folds!
Show the jack of spades. Show it.
Well, that shows the ace of diamonds.
That's going to bug Kitai for a while. Even though he did make the right fold.
Did you fold?
What do you have if I tell you if you're gonna tell me?
What's the matter? Klatt got your tongue?
So now we can pause proceedings as we balance the 4 remaining tables halfway through day 4. Davidi Kitai no longer in the top 10. With 32 remaining, these are the biggest stacks. We now have 7 players with more than $1 million. And the French amateur Michael Kolkovic is still chip leader with more than 1.6 million. Next time, day 4 continues. Can ElkY turn things around?